training and recovery, and the question period at the end, like Keira mentioned. Oh, j'ai oublié de changer la slide. Hein? I'm sorry. We're pretty new to this, and we're on a small phone, so I hope everything is okay on your side, and we're in our gym, as you can see. Okay, so talking about the Army Run training program. So you see a picture of two FSI here. It's Jessica Mascotte and Pierre Cyr. So they're the one behind the program we're presenting today, but they did the big work. So you have a link there to click to go through the booklet. I think you were asked to go through the booklet before the presentation today just to familiarize yourself with it. But if you want to go, it's the link you see. So it is to prepare for the Army Run. This year, unfortunately, it's going to be virtual. As you can see, the dates is September 10th to the 19th for the 5K run or the half marathon. And you will see that our program is built on 18 weeks. If you do the math, we have 12 to 13 weeks before the race day. So that's not totally enough. You can always adjust the program if you want with the help of your fitness instructor. And you can also use it for different races and next year Army Run. So the objective, like I said, it's an 18 running physical preparation. That's for our main program. You'll see in the booklet, we also have a 4-week starting program and a 12-week as well. We wanted to promote running to improve the fitness level of CAF members. And we want also to promote our services because you will see we will be there to support you in your training program during for that Army Run. And then the clientele is runners that have a basic running experience. You'll see it's quite complex. It's a big program, and it's not necessarily for totally beginners. And we want people that can have a support from their fitness instructor as well. So ideally, that would be it for the clientele we are qu'on cible. Next one. Oh. You will see a health appraisal questionnaire in the booklet. This is just for you. You don't have to send this to anybody, but just for you to make sure you are fit to follow the program. It's very simple. You have 3 different questions to answer. The first one, I'll just quickly go over it, is do you have any medical condition? The second one, would you like to talk to your doctor before you start the training program? And the third one is if you have a valid Part 1 and Part 2 medical. And then you would like to have, if you answer no to the fitness appraisal, the Part 1 and Part 2 medical, you will have to have your blood pressure taken either by your doctor or your fitness instructor. And we want the blood pressure to be less or equal to 150 over 100. So just a little résumé de tout ça. If you answer yes to question 1 and or 2, you will have to talk to your doctor before you follow the program. And same thing for question 3. If you answer no, you have to have your blood pressure taken. And that's just for you, like I said, just make sure you're fit to start the program. In the booklet, you have maybe some abbreviations you've never seen. So we have the legend. Some of them are fairly simple. Minutes. The one that you might have never seen is the MAS, which is maximal aerobic speed. We're going to cover that later. Meters, maximum repetitions, seconds, and kilometers per hour. Very simple for those. We went over some tips, basic tips to help you improve your running technique. If you would like to have an evaluation of your running technique, you can also go see your fitness instructor, but this is just basic points. You would like to follow a cadence of 180 steps per minute. I know there's some apps that can give you a certain cadence, so that's something you can try to start to do. Follow that pace. Landing on the foot, mid-foot, so not on the heels. Run light, reduce the noise. Run tall, so try to have a nice posture when you run. Slightly activate your abdominal muscles. Relax the shoulders. We tend to be a little stiff. And try to limit vertical movement. So you want to keep it effective and not wasting energy by jumping too high. So just basic tips. If you want more, you go see your FSI. 5-minute MAS assessment. I said in the legend, it's maximal aerobic speed. To do that, you need to do this for the 18-week program. It's all based on that. So it's a very important assessment. It's very simple to do. It's to estimate your MAS, you'll have to run the longest distance possible in 5 minutes, okay? This will allow you to training smart and at the right percentage, and it's gonna improve your speed and your endurance to maintain higher speeds. So for this, you need to warm up well. Pierre-Luc is gonna follow with the warm up for running. So you're gonna follow that. Then you're gonna choose a flat surface and ideally good weather conditions. So a good place to do this would be a 200 or a 400 meter track because there's nothing in your way, no stop signs. So that would be ideal if you have access to this. And once you have your distance you completed in 5 minutes, that's where you contact your PSP and they're gonna help you with the MAS result. So Pierre-Luc is gonna explain the warm-up. Je te laisse la parole.
All right, everyone. I hope you're doing well. My name is Pierre-Luc Chalut-Laprenière. It is a very long name, but I hope you're going to remember it. So I'm going to cover the part of the warm-up for you guys. So let's just skip the diapositive. There you go. All right. So when it comes to warm-up for runners, what's important is to involve doing exercise, prepare physical exertion. So whether it's a long run or an interval run, warm-up should be mandatory and not neglected. So the idea of doing a proper warm-up is to increase body temperature, heart rate, and blood circulation. We also want to reduce risk of injury and ache, so feeling of soreness of tightness. The duration of the warm-up should be individualized to your own needs. So maybe someone has a need to have more warm-up than you should. And when it comes to the warm-up, we have to look at 3 different phases. So the general activation, which is where we're going to increase the heart rate. We're going to do a dynamic mobility sequence, which is at the end of your document. So we'll go over that right after. And there's also the specific activation for a running session. So in the next page, we have an example of the running warm-up. So as you can see in the 5 bulletproof, the 5-minute walks is where we're going to have a ankle stability circuit. So for example, walking on the toes, walking on the heels, different types of walk that we can assess for you. Then there will be a light jog to get some kind of an accommodation to your training. We will have dynamic stretches. So once again, in your documents, you'll have a resource for stretching and dynamic stretching. So try to focus on the dynamic part of stretching before a warm-up. You'll have the specific drills underneath. So as you can see, there's a picture right here with our model Camille, and we have the description of the set exercise to give you an idea of what you should be doing. And at the end of each set, specific running drills, you have to do 5 to 6 lengths of 60 to 100 meters, and then gradually decelerate. So from here, so this is where we're going to have the mobility and strength part for the runners. So we look at the mechanical efficiency, posture, injury prevention, and some kind of strength in that part of the warm-up because we want to focus on injury prevention and also proper running pattern with stability within the main joints. We want to train unsolicited structure in running. So overall strength by integrating the musculature less strain during running and general mobility as well. When it comes to the training itself, the load can be variable. So whatever you have at your disposal will be welcome. And if you have any question in terms of advice or anything, you can come see your local PSP to have more information on that. So now Adrienne will come back onto the program. So sit tight, and there will be some information for you here.
Okay, so like I mentioned, we have different programs in the booklet. The main one is the 18 one, but you'll see, I think it's page 12. Je vais changer de slide. You'll see the 4-week program. So this is a beginner program. If you see the name, it's getting back to running safely. So that will apply if you are not comfortable running 30 minutes in a row, if you haven't run in the last 4 months, and or if you're getting back from an injury or maybe a pregnancy. So that's when you will start with that program. It's very simple to follow. 4 weeks. It always starts with a warm up, 5 to 10 minutes light walk or jog, and then you'll have different intervals. The intervals will ask you to increase the amount of running you do without stopping to walk. So let's say the first day you do 20 times 1 minute walk, 1 minute run, and then if you go to the Wednesday, it's 15 times 1 minute walk, 2 minute run, and it keeps increasing like that. And it's 4 runs per week, 4 weeks total. So fairly simple for this one. And then we have the 12-week program, which doesn't use the MAS, so that's why it's a little bit more simple. So as you can read, simple, friendly user running program. 12-week, what is different from the other one, you have the complementary activity. That would be an endurance activity that you do other than running. So on the rest day, you either rest or you do something else like swimming, biking, elliptical, any endurance activity you like to do. Another difference is you have the strides. So strides you will do after just a light jog. So this day, the specific workout is a light jog of 40 minutes. And at the end, once you're done your 40 minutes, you do 8 to 10 strides, which is basically accelerations. So you'll do it 8 to 10 times. You will accelerate, try to go to a maximal speed. It will take you about 5 seconds to reach your maximal speed. And then you're going to maintain it for 20 to 30 seconds. It should be about 100 meters. And you take the last 5 seconds to decelerate. So you do it once, you rest for at least 2 minutes. So you want to recover completely before you do the next stride. So you'll do 8 to 10 times. So those are the difference for that program. What else? You have the hill training. So you'll need to find a hill between 200 to 400 meters, and you'll go up and down the hill for the amount of time requested in that specific workout. Cool down 15 minutes. Normally you'll be light jogging or walking, and then you have the mobility and stretch, so you can follow the booklet for that to have ideas of mobility and stretch you can do. That will be at the end of your long run. Okay, so that's the 12-week program, and then we'll go to the main program, which is the detailed 18-week program. You have 2 different levels. So level 1 is to prepare for a 5 or a 10K race. It's on 18 weeks. So now we see the first block on that slide. I don't see what I'm doing. Okay. The weeks are separate in easy, moderate, or difficult. So that's a difference from the other program. And you have the weight training that will come into this. So if it's written 1-time endurance, that means you do it once in that week. We suggest you do it in the rest day. A rest day doesn't necessarily mean you can't exercise. It just means you're resting from running, but you can do other things. So you change the rest day for the endurance program, and then the following week you do it twice, and you keep following that. So it's all detailed in the book. And you have the example of how we're going to use the MAS, maximal aerobic speed. So here you see you warm up for 10 to 15 minutes, and then you do 4 to 5 times 2 minutes at 76 to 80% of your MAS. An example, if your MAS is 12K an hour, your speed for that day will be about 9.5, which is 75 to 80% of that MAS. So that's how you're going to use it. If you look at the other workouts, you absolutely need your MAS to follow that program, and it's built like that. So you really need to take it seriously, do it the right way, the 5-minute, and then have the assistance of your fitness instructor for guidance on this. And you see the level 2. It's about the same thing. It's just for a longer run. So goal is 10 to 21K. There's nothing different from what I just explained. It's just longer distances. So Pierre-Luc is going to explain the endurance, no, the weight training program, sorry. And then we're going to pass it to Stephanie after that.
Here I am again. There you go, guys. Oh, I'll just reframe myself a little bit just for you. All right, so next slide, we have the endurance training in the weights training section. So as you can see, there's a, well, in that slide there, oh, okay, there's 2 exercises. Okay, that's good. All right, so as you can see, the number is the set of the exercise, and the letter is the different exercise. So A1 and AB makes a superset. So when you look at it this way, there's the information with the information of the exercise, and then you'll have the time to do it. So which is 30 to 45 seconds. Whenever you're done, you're going straight to 1B, which is jump squat. So once again, you read the information that you need to know for your exercise, and you complete the 15 to 20 reps. And then you have a 30 seconds of rest. So it's pretty easy. Whenever you're going to look at your training program, it's always one exercise. You have the rep scheme, and then you have your reps, if you have one, and then you jump right next to the other exercise. Okay. Then we have, did it change? It didn't change. Oh, well, aha, there you go. All right, perfect. Okay, so that's the training log. So as you can see, we decided to put a training log at the end of the document so that you can put anything that you do. So the weights, the time that you do, and especially write down how you feel after your workout so you can see an improvement in how you feel during that program, okay? So once again, pretty easy. You have the name of the exercise. You have the weight chart, so whatever weight you're using, and then you have the reps here. So either in the numbers of second you've been working, or the numbers of reps you have accomplished. So that's part of our training program. So in terms of resource, I know Steph is going to go over it as well, but we provide the running clinic website so that you can have a proper information in terms of proper shoe wear. You can also reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content, and you can visit our websites on Cap Connection or contact us directly on our NCR Fitness email. So on the right hand side, we have all the service that we can provide you. So once again, if you guys have any question, do not hesitate. You can reach out to us at any moment. So I believe Steph will be the next one presenting to you. Am I right, Steph?
That is correct, Pierre. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Steph Haynes. I'm one of the exercise specialists here in the NCR. So I work with the reconditioning team. So with the reconditioning team, what we do is we work with the Reg Force and Reserve Force military members, those who have physical limitations, MELs, those who've been referred from physio or an MO, an NP. If you're on a TCAT or a MedShit or a PCAT, we're always willing to help you guys out. We provide service generally in person, hopefully very soon, at Startop, NDHQ Carling, NDHQ Perk, so downtown, CFS Leitrim, and 455 de la Carrière. So we provide service at a few different locations. There's 2 other exercise specialists as well as a reconditioning manager. So basically our goal is for members to have consistent and seamless physical fitness, to get them from the limitations that they currently are trying to overcome to be able to successfully pass their force evaluation. So we work both with reconditioning members, so those working full-time, also with those who are on a return to work, so not working full-time hours, maybe not working at all. We work with them as well for a seamless transition back into the workplace. So within the reconditioning program, I'll just touch a little bit just in case you're not aware. Sorry, Fitness, can you push my slide? Thank you. Sorry, I just realized it hadn't got pushed yet. So yes, So within the reconditioning program, so some of the services that we provide, so classes, we offer both virtual and in-person when we can, when we get back to in-person indoor training. We also work with members within the supplementary training program. So those who maybe are prepping for their force evaluation, maybe were unsuccessful on the recent force evaluation, we work with them to achieve their fitness goals as well. We work with members who suffer from concussions. So we work within the SLAM protocols. Also, we do individualized training plans based on your current, your future fitness goals. And as well as during the time when we're working with you, developing that training plan, we'll work with movement assessments just to ensure that the delivery for that training plan suits your goals and your current situation and limitations. Push that slide, please. Fitness, push that slide, please. Thank you. So again, like they mentioned in the beginning, I work with members that have limitations, but oftentimes they're a little bit more detailed, in depth. So I just want to touch on some of the most common running injuries that we see, or that I see here in the NCR. So plantar fasciitis, that's one of the big ones. If you've ever suffered from it, you know what I'm talking about. So it's that most commonly pain in the heel, and it runs from the fascia, so the thick band that attaches your toes to your heel, and creates that arch. If you're having pain in that heel, typically it's from plantar fasciitis. There's a whole host of possible reasons why. If ever you're feeling that pain or that discomfort, please reach out to us. Seeing shin splints, that's another big one. Feeling that pain in that tibial, that front part of that lower leg. Again, there's certain preventative treatment that we can go through to work through that with you. And then IT band, that's another big one for runners, also soccer players oftentimes will suffer from it as well. And so that's pain in that knee. Typically can run up the side of the upper leg, so from the knee up to the hip. Again, I don't want to get into too much detail. I don't want to overwhelm you, but of course, if ever you have questions, concerns, if you're feeling discomfort, if you're feeling these, you think you're feeling these different signs and symptoms, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help you with any of those concerns. Next slide, please. So again, I didn't want to take too much time. The objective is certainly the running booklet and all of its importance. But of course, if during your training or currently right now before you get off on the hop and you're about to start training, you've got some concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, I've placed a couple of resources as well. I know PL touched on the running clinic. It does touch on proper footwear, how to choose proper footwear. There's so much information out there right now. Should I go with minimalist? Should I go with structure cushion? What's up with barefoot running? Should I wear the Vibrams? And so there's so much out there. We don't know what works for you and who should you talk to. First off, you can come to us. You can come to your fitness instructors 100%. If we don't know the answer, we'll find the answer. But you can also do a little bit of research on your own. So the running clinic also offers injury prevention, or if you're suffering from some of these most common injuries, they can give you some tips and tricks on potentially changing up your training plan, making sure you're doing proper warm-ups, again, proper footwear, making sure that your training plan is balanced. So like they talked about, making sure that you're not running every day, or incorporating strength training and endurance training, low impact training, making sure you're incorporating proper warm-ups, mobility, cool down, stretching. All of that is very important to ensure the success of your training plan and that you reach your goals. So, and then there's another, I know oftentimes so many people are on Instagram and Facebook and so on. So another really good group on Facebook that you can find info on injury prevention, and you get to talk with other people who are, this is the feeling I'm having, this is the discomfort or the pain in this place, is anyone else feeling it? And then there's some reputable websites that you can go on and do a little bit of research yourself. And if you're not finding what you're looking for, or you need a little bit more info or guidance, or you don't know what to believe, absolutely feel free to reach out to us. That's our positional mailbox. You can certainly reach out to that. And in the end of the presentation, there will be my contact information as well as the reconditioning's contact information. So again, feel free, if ever you're suffering from any of these discomforts, issues, injuries, reach out to us and we will be happy to help and take care of you. Thank you, and I'll pass it over to Keira.
Thanks, Steph. So as mentioned, everyone, I'm going to take over for the third segment of the presentation, and it's regarding the sports nutrition information that's on pages 8 and 9 of the booklet. So a little bit about your health promotion team. We offer workshops, briefings, webinars, and campaigns that support healthy choices and work environments. And our scope is within 4 core program areas. So that would be nutritional wellness, as well as addiction awareness and prevention, social wellness, and injury prevention and active living. Today, of course, I'm talking about sports nutrition. And given that this can be quite a broad and sometimes dynamic subject, I find it's really valuable for you to know where the information that I'm presenting to you is coming from. So PSP Health Promotion receives all of its program content from Strengthening the Forces, which is a program that's provided by the Surgeon General through the Directorate of Force Health Protection. And the primary sources of our nutrition program content are Health Canada and Dietitians of Canada, whose recommendations are based on the best available scientific evidence. So the intention of this presentation is really just to provide you with, as I said, that background info on those evidence-based sports nutrition recommendations that are in the booklet. And bear in mind that the goal here is not to discredit anyone's personal nutrition choices. It's really just to give you more tools and information that you can choose to use in order to foster and sustain healthy eating habits. So we're going to take a look at the importance of hydration, some tools to stay hydrated, and then I'll explain what carbohydrates are and why they're important both for rest as well as during exercise. And then I'm going to discuss the functions and recommendations for protein, and I'll provide some quick tips and more info on nutrition for training and competition as well, so for the actual race day, and then some really great resources for nutrition that you can use for everyday eating as well as sports nutrition. I also want to point out that this information is a really, really condensed version of what's normally a workshop of 2 full days that we provide. So I definitely welcome you to contact me directly afterwards if you have any kind of additional questions or you want some more information on anything that I've touched on that I present to you today. So whenever we consider the time and the effort that we put into our training, especially for something like the Army Run, we really want to make sure that we're supporting that training and using nutrition to drive that training. So the biggest impact that you can have on your performance is really truly going to come from your everyday nutrition. So that would be the habits that you have, day in and day out around your meals, your snacks, and the fluids that you're consuming as well. That's really going to stack up and set you up for success. So essentially, if you're eating, enough foods to meet your caloric needs and to support your training, that's going to be enough to push you towards your goal. Whereas if you're eating too much or not enough, you're eating too little, that's going to have a negative effect, right? And our everyday nutrition, it's more than meeting those caloric needs. It also means, eating whole foods, making healthy choices throughout each day, and getting the right balance of each macronutrient and meeting your micronutrient targets, so your vitamins and mineral targets. So a really great practice that you can adopt to make sure that your everyday nutrition is on point is to think of 3 concepts, and that would be quality, quantity, and pattern, which means, are you choosing those quality, nutrient-dense whole foods most of the time instead of, ultra processed foods like processed deli meats or pizza or chicken nuggets, chips, candy, pop, whatever? And then, are you eating the right amount of those nutrient-dense foods to support your requirements? And then are you doing that in a way, in a pattern throughout every day that's actually going to support your goals as well? So once we have this everyday nutrition nailed down, then the nutrient timing around exercise can really give you that next advantage to start to dial in on your goals. And at the top of this little pyramid depiction, we can see that sports supplements can play, a part of the puzzle. That be a very small piece because there are some out there that have good evidence to give you a performance benefit of 0 to 2%, which is quite small, as I mentioned, but that's a little bit to get you to the next level. However, it's really important to recognize that it's this everyday nutrition and our nutrient timing around our training that's going to have the greatest impact. So that's where we should be spending most of our time. So we're going to start with hydration, and then we'll go into the food element because hydration is a huge component of our everyday nutrition as well as our sports nutrition. And it's regardless, of if we're training for 30, 60, 90 minutes, more than that, we need to make sure that we start our exercise well hydrated and that we stay hydrated throughout the session. So the recommendations for fluids set by Health Canada, it's 2.2 liters a day for females, 3 liters a day for males. Here on the slide, I've just given you a more individualized calculation that you can use for yourself. So it's a liter of fluid for every 50 pounds body weight. So for example, if you weigh 200 pounds, it's recommended that you have 4 liters of fluid a day. And note that this recommendation is simply for our day-to-day function. We need to make sure that we add increased intake to replace any fluid that we've lost during our training and due to the environment. So for example, if it's really hot and humid outside when you're going for your run, you're going to sweat more, so you're going to need to top up with more fluid. And notice that I say fluid recommendations because while it's definitely recommended that water is our drink of choice, soup, tea, coffee, juice, milk, it also counts towards our hydration levels, but we want to try to make water, as I mentioned, our drink of choice because it's really important for optimal health. It's a great way to quench thirst, and it's a way to stay hydrated without adding extra calories to our diet. It's also really important to stay hydrated in terms of exercise because dehydration can increase muscle soreness during recovery. It can impair cognitive performance, and it can also decrease our performance and fine motor skills, as well as making exercise feel harder in itself. So just reflect to yourselves for a second on what's a really easy, quick, accessible way for us to tell if we're hydrated. Probably, hopefully done it already today. It's going to be your urine color and your amount of urine. These are really great indicators of hydration status, and essentially we want to aim for those pale yellow colors shown on the slide there, the top 3 colors. If you're urinating, in smaller amounts, less frequently, and it's a little bit darker, like the yellow burnt orange color, those are good signs that you need to start hydrating and get some fluids. Okay, so now we're going to look at food. There are 3 macronutrients or nutrients that we need in large amounts to provide our bodies with energy, and they're fat, protein, and carbs. Okay, so it's recommended that 20 to 35% of our daily calories should come from healthy fats as much as possible. So those would be unsaturated fats like avocado, nuts, seeds, legumes, vegetable oils, fish, things like that. And then 10 to 35% of our calories should come from protein, and it's recommended to choose some plant-based sources of protein as well because they contain less saturated fat than those animal-based sources, and they have more fiber. And then, it's recommended that 45 to 65%, so the majority of our daily calories should come from carbohydrate sources. And we're going to talk about why that is. So carbs are our body's main source of energy. They're super efficient for our bodies to use. And our best sources of carbs are going to be whole grains, fruit, vegetables, dairy products, and legumes as well. So when we ingest these carbohydrate foods, they're broken down into glucose, and the glucose is going to circulate in our bloodstream to provide energy to all of our cells. And it's really important to note that our red blood cells are completely dependent on glucose for fuel, and under normal circumstances, glucose is the only fuel that our brain uses. So that's huge. That's of great importance. And not only do we use that glucose at rest, but we use it during intense and less intense exercise. So carbohydrate is also stored as glycogen in the liver and in the muscles. Our liver glycogen is what's used to maintain our blood sugar levels between our meals. And then our muscle glycogen supplies glucose for muscular work. So walking, running, lifting, carrying, things like that. And it's that muscle glycogen and that liver glycogen that are our primary fuels used during exercise of moderate or greater intensity. So for those reasons, adequate carb intake is really important to make sure that we're topping up those muscle and liver glycogen stores. So we need to make sure that we begin exercise with enough muscle glycogen, because that's what's going to contribute ultimately to improved exercise performance, especially during those high intensity and endurance activities like running. We also need to make sure that we're replenishing those stores after exercise so that we're ready for any additional training afterwards. And the amount of carb that you need is going to depend on your body and your physical activity level. But generally, it's going to be the longer and more intense the physical activity that you're doing, you're going to need more carb with that, just to make sure those glycogen stores are topped up. If we don't get enough carb from our diet, from our foods, then our bodies have to use fat and protein for energy instead. And these two, fat and protein, are not as efficient as carbs are for fueling the body. So let's take a look at protein here. Basically, I'm not going to ask you what foods are high in protein. It's quite commonly known now, but as shown on the slide, you know, fish, milk products, lean meats, tofu, legumes, super high in protein. And protein is well known as the structural part of our bodies, right? So not only, you know, muscles and tendons, but our bones, our skin, our hair, it's all made from protein. And the amount of protein that's recommended for each person, just like carb, it's individual, right? It's going to depend on our level of physical activity, but also our gender. For the most part, the requirement is 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. So for example, if you're training for 30 minutes a session, 4 to 5 times a week, that's how much protein you would need. If your sessions are longer, you're going to need more protein, as shown on the little chart on the slide here. So for example, someone who's training 30 minutes a session 5 times a week, and let's say they weigh 200 pounds, that's around 91 kilograms. They're going to need about 91 grams of protein per day. So that's how that calculation is shown. Honestly, these numbers, it's really to give people who are more number-based, number thinkers, a protein target. If you follow that 10 to 35% recommendation per day, as I mentioned, it all evens out with this too. Okay, so these protein targets are not super hard or challenging to hit. Our food often contains much more protein than we might think. So for example, 3 ounces of chicken, which is about a piece the size of your palm here, that contains about 26 grams of protein. And that's typically a much smaller portion than what the average person, or North American, I should say, would eat in one sitting. So take that 90 kilogram individual from the previous example, they'd be getting a third of their protein requirement for the full day in that one little piece of chicken. And it goes the same for other foods shown on the slide. I also want to point out that research suggests that every time protein is consumed, there's a small spike in muscle synthesis, and that's why it's really recommended that we distribute our protein intake evenly throughout our meals and snacks so that we produce multiple spikes in that muscle protein synthesis. So we could try the 30-30-30 rule. Basically, if you're going to eat 90 grams of protein in a day, aim for 30 grams of protein with each meal. So make sure that you spread your protein intake throughout the day. It's going to give you the most bang for your bite. And also it's going to be easier on your digestive system because protein takes longer to digest, and you're going to have room for other important nutrients like vegetables and fruit, healthy fats, and whole grains. Okay, so I know I'm flying through this. Next, I'm just going to share a few points with you about the nutrition chart in the Army booklet itself on page 8 in English. So we'll start with some information for fueling during your workouts. Just want to emphasize that water or fluid is all that we need for fuel for workouts that are less than an hour. Okay. For those high intensity exercise sessions that are close to an hour, or if you're exercising for longer than an hour, on top of that fluid, a source of carb is going to be really helpful to keep your energy levels high and keep you from hitting the wall. So with that, you want to aim for 30 to 60 grams of carb per hour of training. And that could look like a diluted juice, a sport drink, or it could be food. With this, it's really important to know that if there's too much carb in a drink, or if you're not drinking water with a carb source that you're eating, it basically can slow down fluid absorption and essentially cause dehydration and or abdominal discomfort like diarrhea. So for every 40 to 80 grams of carb, drink a liter of water, or consume a drink that's 4 to 8% carb, if that's your sport drink or diluted juice, because that's been shown to be a concentration where the water and carb enter your bloodstream quickly. Also, a little tip, make sure that you ingest your carb source from the beginning all the way throughout your workout, instead of like in one big guzzle of your drink, or just like downing a whole bar, just so that you're supplying the energy throughout and it's easier on your digestive system. And then if your workout is longer than 3 hours, include 500 to 700 milligrams of sodium per liter of fluid to replace what's been lost in sweat, and that's going to help increase your fluid uptake, and that's like automatically included in a sports drink. But if you have your own diluted juice, or if you're having it, it's also automatically included in, say, you're having a Nutri-Grain bar, like there's naturally salt in that, but just something to be mindful of. This is some notes on the post-workout fueling. So basically your goals here are to rehydrate, refuel, and repair. So with the rehydrate, you want to replace fluids that's been lost, again, to training and the environment. So aim for 2 cups of fluid per pound of weight that you've lost during exercise. Some people really do weigh themselves before and after training, and then they calculate their fluid, but honestly, you can just monitor your urine output as well to make sure that you're well hydrated, and just sip water throughout the workout and then drink water afterwards. In terms of fuel, if you trained for over an hour and you're going to train again in the next 8 hours, this part's really, really applicable to you. You want to make sure that you're getting 60 to 90 grams of carb within 30 minutes of stopping your exercise. And we're not always hungry after like a really intense exercise session, but especially in this case, there's a window where your body is going to absorb these nutrients the best. And we want to refill those glycogen stores, as I mentioned. So that's the amount of carb that's recommended. And you want to follow that carb with 15 to 30 grams of protein, or 0.3 to 0.4 grams of protein per kilogram body weight. That's because right after exercise, carbohydrate and the amino acids from the protein foods are going to enter your bloodstream and your muscles quickly, and those amino acids are going to provide the building materials to repair the muscle tissue that we've broken down. So consume fluid, carb, and then protein for maximum absorption rate. And I mean, if you're not doing a workout within 8 hours, or you're not doing like a big workout the next day, The carb for glycogen storage might not be as critical, but just remember that our brain and our red blood cells are still super entirely dependent on glucose for fuel. So we want to make sure that we're getting, you know, a snack or a meal after we work out, just to keep us mentally alert as well until our next meal. And then I just wanted to follow on with some more tips on what's included in the chart. Always stick with familiar foods for your meals or your snacks before the actual race, before the competition. Don't try a new food right before you race or during the race. Trial any new foods or drinks or whatever during your training. And stick with foods that are easily digested. So that would be, you know, low fat, lower in protein as your pre-race and pre-training meals, so that you can minimize any, you know, potential abdominal discomfort or cramping. And the same goes with spicy food or high fiber foods. Basically, like, know how certain foods feel for you. So how does it feel for you to have a banana versus an apple before a run? So get used to that, and never try new stuff on a race day or a competition day. Another point, I know this sounds maybe obvious, but check the weather so that you're prepared for training in hot or humid environments. You're going to need more fluid because you're going to sweat more. And use the food guide as a tool. It's a really great tool. You don't have to make all your meals and snacks look like the food guide, just refer to it. So, you know, making half your plate a variety of fruits and vegetables, a quarter protein food, a quarter grain, and then you're going to hit your targets every day. Thinking about that everyday nutrition, and think about the timing of your physical activity. Is your meal or your snack that you're having before exercise high in carbohydrates, so you're topping up those glycogen stores? And make sure that you're planning something to drink with your meals, in between your meals, whether you're working out or not. You can get dehydrated in an office setting as well. And aim for 3 meals a day with some snacks in between, so that you're keeping your blood sugar levels regular. All right, I just shot out a bunch of information at you. Here are some really helpful resources, especially for sports nutrition. Unlock Food is by Dietitians of Canada. There's a bunch of recipes, there's a bunch of snack ideas, especially surrounding training. And then there's a lot of really great articles and resources to give you just extra info on pretty much anything you can search for with regards to food. And then Sports Dietitians Australia, really specific information about pretty much what I talked to you about today. And then Gatorade Sports Science Institute as well has really great research tips, articles, interactive presentations on sports nutrition and exercise science. And I encourage you to send us an email at Health Promotion NCR to join our distribution list to find out more on our webinars, campaigns, and to receive our monthly newsletter. So I'm going to bring us to the end of the presentation here. It's our question and answer period, and I believe that Andréane and Pierre-Luc are going to facilitate this section of the presentation. So I'll pass the microphone on to Fitness, and I welcome the attendees to either raise their hand or to type in the chat function if they have any questions for any of the 3 of us here. And thank you again.
How am I going to see if I have questions? I'm going to see the hands popping up.
Andréane, if oh, that's my dog. If you guys have any, I can do it. I can see if there's a hand raised. That's no problem.
Okay. We have a little bit of action here in the gym, so it's a little difficult for us to concentrate. Sorry, it's not the best setup.
Don't be sorry. I don't see any hands right now, but we'll wait a few moments to see.
Okay.
This always happens as soon as like it's my turn to talk, the dog barks. But just so you guys know, I recorded the session, so we'll include a follow-up email with the attendees. So if anyone has questions, feel free to email any of these entities directly and we'll have the recording available for you. Steph, I think you're about to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just going to reiterate basically what you just said, Keira, because the CAF Connection resource was not on my original page. So I just make note, everyone, the direct link to the reconditioning program on CAF Connection is there on the resource page, as well as, like I'd mentioned earlier, right direct to our Plus PES positional mailbox. So any issues with injuries,